This is the Dayton Dish Podcast, episode 10, Barking with Bona. And on this episode of the cast, we talk with Ian Nolan, the founder of BonaBlog.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Bona Blog. I'm on vacation. I'm in Colorado, far away from everything. Threw together a quickie podcast Q&A for the Wednesday game against St. Bonaventure. The music belongs to Colson Kelly. If you want to buy tickets to the game on Wednesday, go to thedaytondish.com/tickets. But other than that, I'm getting out of here. Take a listen and prep yourself for Dayton and St. Bonaventure with Ian Nolan. Basically, for those Dayton fans who don't know much yet about St. Bonaventure, Bonnies are 11-2 and basically are having the year Dayton fans are used to having. So, Ian, first and foremost, how is it to be one of the top dogs in the league so far on your guys' end?
It's a really unique feeling, I think, for Bonaventure fans. You know, we are usually the little engine that could, the team that is constantly being picked to finish ninth, but finishing fourth, things like that. So Bonaventure fans aren't used to having these kind of expectations and these kind of pressures around their team. And when they went out and they lost the first game of the year at home to Niagara, that was, just a nightmare scenario. And everyone instantly felt like, boy, we knew this was going to happen. The team wasn't used to being the hunted. They're used to being the hunter. But since that game, they've obviously really turned things around despite Jay Adams being out. So the team has absolutely played up to expectations this year. And as long as they keep playing up to their potential, there's absolutely no reason that they do not get an NCAA at-large bid.
Did you guys take the Niagara loss hard, or did you mentioned Jalen Adams, he wasn't available for that game. Did you take it hard, or did you know that that wasn't really the full Bonaventure team?
I think people, myself included, for a few minutes after the game, just kind of flashed back to 2016, right, when Bonaventure was left out with an RPI in the 20s and had won a share of the A10 title. Any loss for a team like Bonaventure as a reason to keep them out, and we, had that loss in the first game of the year kind of a thing. So there was definitely that doom and gloom type of mindset that fans had in thinking that here we are one game into the year. We knew that we really had to avoid bad losses at all costs, and crap, we just had one opening night. Now, we knew that Jay Adams wasn't, obviously, was going to come back and would change the dynamic of the team, but that was a game Bonaventure should have won easily with or without him. So yeah, people were really broken up after that game, but at the time, I think they started to have their faith reinstilled in the team, and then especially after the Maryland win, I think that gave fans kind of the shot in the arm that they needed, that this team, was for real. And how good Maryland will be, still to be determined. They just lost one of their best players, if not their best player for the rest of the year. So maybe that win come March isn't, the A or B type win that it is now. But I think that it did give the fans and the team a really good shot in the arm.
Well, you hope that the committee, when you get to that point, if you guys keep pace to where you are now, they'll look at, okay, Jalen Adams wasn't available for Niagara. It was game one, and maybe the Maryland win, and maybe the Syracuse win, and maybe a Rhode Island win thrown in there if you guys get one will be helpful. But that part of it, I think, is so difficult for you guys. How do you deal with, having the resume like you have in years past and just getting shut out? I mean, is it just a chip on your shoulder 24/7?
2016 was just devastating. I mean, I think that that year just made fans think that any loss, like I said, could keep us out, and the selection committee would look for reasons to exclude, the third smallest team in Division I basketball with a small enrollment and things like that, and would always want to include a Power 5 team instead of them. And so I think that for the players, I think for guys like Jalen Adams, who are still on that team, I think that it really provides them with a chance to kind of, get some closure on that season that hurt so badly. Because I think heading into Selection Sunday, there wasn't really anyone out there who thought that Bonaventure wouldn't get in. It was really a crippling day for the program and made us feel like, shit, the only way we're getting into this thing is if we win the A10 tournament. We all know how hard that is to do. So I'm hoping that this season will kind of breathe some optimism back into the program in terms of what is possible, if we have a really good team.
Ian Nolan of the Bona Blog joining us here on the Dayton Dish podcast. So Again, we talked about a little bit about the schedule, 11-2, and most recently a 20-point win against UMass, who's one of the teams in the conference. I think that we don't quite know what we're going to see from UMass for a full year, but to get that good start from a full Bonaventure team, how important was it? Do you think that the non-conference wasn't just a flash in the pan, that you guys are definitely for real?
Yeah, I think that was especially a nice win to have. They had a week-long layoff after the Syracuse win, so I think with any fan base, right, you kind of feel like there's going to be that letdown. You just had, for Bonaventure fans, their first win ever at Syracuse, and then you get a home game after a week versus UMass. There's no students on campus. Are you going to have that game where the players just don't have any juice, and you come out and you lose a game because you just don't play well and there's no energy? But that didn't happen. I mean, Bonaventure came out and was just white hot. I mean, I think they were 8 of 15 from 3 in the first half. It was just absolutely stupid. Jalen Adams, hit a 3 from the logo at center court just on a fast break. I mean, it was out of control. So it was great to see them kind of put the hammer down to an A-10 team. And I think in a way they were kind of saying, like, they're not taking teams for granted. They're not playing around with these A-10 home games. And, we'll see. You're only as good or bad as your next game. So things could